Okay, welcome back to Code Voyager. This is going to be the first of many videos um, going over the introduction to Java and object-oriented programming. Um, Today's video will be on data types and variables. So let's get started. So Java has two different types of data. The first is the primitive types. They're basically simple stored values that are stored directly in the memory. And then we have 8 of those. So we have the byte, short, int, which stands for integer, long, float, double, char, and Boolean. The most common of these are integer, double, and Boolean. So integer is a number. The double is a number with decimal points, and Boolean is a true or false value. Then we have the reference types. And these are types like string, arrays, and objects. They're stored in the heap, is what it's called. So anytime you reference an object, it's stored in the heap, and as soon as it's not referenced, then the garbage collector in Java will remove it. So I'll be going over the strings today with the other primitive types, a couple of the primitive types. Not going to do all the primitive, just the common ones, and also the string. The arrays and objects I'll go over in another video just because they're a little bit more complex. All right, so here I've provided a table for your own reference to take a screenshot, just to refer back to, or you can just Google this stuff to tell you the truth. On the left side, you've got your data type, byte, short, int, long, etc., and then a description about each one and an example of how it looks when you're writing the code. So when you create one of these data types, you use a variable, and to do that, you'll use first the type, and then any name of the variable. Looks like in this case they called it small number, and then you assign it a value. Um, Same here, like this is an integer. They called it age, and the value is 25. A double down here is, again, double. The name that they gave it is price, and you see that it's a decimal here. You also have these other ones, long, float. A long is just a larger, essentially if you need something that's larger than the integer, like less than 2 billion or greater than 2 billion, you use a long. And here's the string. They've got a string name, and the name is given the value Java. And we have var down here. This is in Java 10, versions 10 plus. Basically, that is kind of a generic way to assign a variable. You assign it var and then the name and whatever value. Here they've assigned it to a string, and that type is inferred at compile time. So when you compile it, it will determine what the type is by the name. Okay. All right. Without further ado, let's get started with the actual coding portion of this. Let's see. Give me 1 second here, and I will get everything set up here. It's all ready to go. Just need to pull the little windows up. All right. Here we go. Okay. Over here, you can see that if you watched the previous video, we have this small little class here called Hello World, and it will print out Hello World to the console. I can demonstrate that now. I'm in this Code Voyager folder, and first thing you want to do, I'll make sure I'm pretty sure this is saved, but I'm going to save it, and then I'm going to, over here in the command line, I'm going to use the command javac, which stands for the compiler, and then /hello world java. That is the name of this Java source file here. All right, hit enter, and we get no errors, so we are ready to run it. So you type Java and the name of the class, and you don't have to put any extensions after it. It's just the name. You don't have to put class at the end. And there we go. It prints out hello world. Okay, so simple enough. But now we're going to add in um, some variables here. Sorry, I've got a little notepad to kind of speed things up here for me so I don't have to sit there and type it out here. All right, so let's add, for now, let's do int. I'm going to create an integer. We're going to name it x. We're going to give it a value of 10. Let's do another integer, call it y, and give it a value of 20. Oops, syntax here. Always end your line with a semicolon, otherwise it's going to complain whenever you run it. All right, so we've got these two variables, x and y. So what do we do with them? Well, we can do quite a bit of stuff here. Let's let's do x plus y. Not equals x plus y. Okay, and we can do other things as well. There's different operators here. Let me get a couple of them. We can do x minus y. We can do x times y. And let's do x divided by y. So what this is going to do now is when we do this system print here, it's going to add x plus y, so that should be 30. X minus y should be negative 10. X times y should be 200, and x divided by y should be 0.5. But because this is an integer and it doesn't contain decimals, it's going to print out 0. Okay, and we'll see that here in a second. Let's save it. All right, let's go over here to our command line. I'm going to clear the screen. I'm OCD about this stuff. All right, so we're going to compile it again because we have new code and we need to compile it. And then we're going to run it. Now we've got, like I said, 10 plus 20 is 30. 10 minus 20 is negative 10. 10 times 20 is 200. And 10 divided by 20 should be 0.5, but because it's an integer, it's only going to print out 0. Okay, so now if we wanted to change that, we could change any one of them to double. Let's try this. Save it. Recompile it. Run it again, and now we've got, see, now that it's changed to a double, you can even see that it has decimal points on all the numbers because one of them's a double. So if you need decimal points, use the double, because then you'll get the correct value here, that 0.5. Okay, amazing. All right, so now let's do some strings here. I'm going to comment these out here. A comment, when you do a double forward slash, it creates exactly that, comment. It's something that it's not going to read it, it's just going to use it. You can use it to put notes in the file, so like, note to reader or something. If you need to put a message to somebody who, it's either yourself or someone else that's going to go in there and read your code later on. You want to kind of keep them to a minimum, but it is good sometimes when there's complex code to put a comment, sometimes explaining, the thought processes and how the whatever function or method that you create. Yeah, it's good, but it can also be abused and just really make the code messy. Like right now, this would be pretty messy, but I'm going to leave it here just for now. All right, so we're going to do a string. So I'm going to give this string, I'm going to call it name. It could be called whatever you want. You usually want to use something that's kind of describing what it actually is. So for instance, this is name. I'm going to give it John. Okay. So now we have a string named John. So if I do a system, oops, dot out, that's lowercase, print line, and put name in here, what do you think is going to happen? It's not going to print the word name. It's going to print John because the value of name is John, right? Okay, let's save this. I'm going to clear the screen here in my command. Now if I go in here and recompile it and then rerun it, as you can see, we printed John. Okay, so let's see what would happen if you, let's uncomment this here. What if you added name plus this integer y? What what will happen is it's going to just print the name John and attach 20 to the end of it. This is called concatenation. You can use this to put two strings together. You can, here we'll do another string. Let's see, last name. Let's do first, let's call this one first name, just to be more descriptive, right? And I'm using camel case here. When you do lowercase first name, uppercase last name, that's called camel case. So we're gonna do John, how about Travolta? John Travolta. All right. And down here, I'm just going to copy this because I'm going to show you a couple things here. So in the first line, we're going to print first name plus last name. Need to change this because we renamed that variable, so it won't work. It will throw an error if we don't. Okay, so what's going to happen here? So when we print this and use first name plus last name, well, right now it's just going to put both of them together. So it's going to be no spaces. It's going to look like this. John Travolta. See? Now, if we don't want it to look like that, here, make this a comment. So that's what it prints. Now, if we want to put a space in here, you can also use, so you've got first name, you can do plus, and then basically an empty string, and that will print John Travolta, the space. And this one here is going to print John, what is that, Y20? So it'll be John 20. That's what this is going to look like here. All right, let's save this. All right, clear the screen, recompile it. No errors, let's run it. All right, oh, look at that. Did not do anything here. Let's maybe try, that's an empty string. I need to put the space in there. Forgot to do that. All right, let's do it again. Recompile it, run it. There we go. Okay, so now it's working. We have the first one. We didn't add a space, so it's concatenated together. This one we added an empty space in here, or an empty string. And it's John Travolta with the space, and then there's John 20 here because it added the first name with this integer 20. All right, now here's a question. Can you multiply a first name times an integer. Okay, let's say first name, or any variable, but first name. If we multiply this times this integer up here, we're going to get an error. But I'm going to demo it for you just so we can show you. So I'm going to got this set up, saving it. Go down here, compile it, and we get an error. And that's because you can't multiply a string times a value. It's all these are characters, and it's not going to work because this is a string. You can only multiply doubles and ints and floats, anything that's a number here. So even if I changed, let's say I have a string called numbers, and I name that, or put it in a string and did 1, 2, 3, it's still not going to work. So if I replace first name here with numbers, it's not going to work because it's a string and you can't do it. Even though these are numbers, that's now a string in here. So a string can be any character in here, okay? So if I save this, compile, here's our error again, right? Okay, so let's comment this out. Don't need that anymore. Oops, just delete it. That's even better. Okay. All right. So we've gone over the integers. We've gone over doubles. Go ahead and uncomment that too, just in case I want to use that. So the next one, let's go over. It's called Boolean. I can get rid of these just to clean this up here. Drives me nuts here. All right, so let's do a Boolean. Okay. Boolean is greater than equals true. Okay. So this would be like if you wanted to take these numbers and check if one is greater than the other. Okay, so how this would work, which I'll go into these a little bit, a little bit later, but you can do an if statement. So if, say, you could do if x up here, 10, is, greater than y, then, again, I'll go through this, do some code here, right? And then else, again, don't worry about this here. I'm just kind of showing you do something else, right? So what this Boolean would do, you could do something similar to this. Like if you could do if x equals is greater than. So if that would be, if that's basically what this is going to show is true. So if x is true, then do some codes. Otherwise, do something else. Like, so in this case, yeah, I'm sorry. In this case, this is greater than, x wouldn't be greater than 20. So actually, let's name this 20. That'll make more sense here. I apologize here. I started going through that and I'm like, oh no. Okay. So if x is greater than 20, so if we put this as true, then it'll do this code. But currently x is not greater than 20, so it would be false, so that would do this. So another thing you could do is if it's use the exclamation. That means not greater than. It's the opposite of what this is. So if x is not greater than 20, then do this, blah, blah, blah. So I'll get more into it. It's not really exactly how this works, but basically, kind of getting ahead of myself here. Basically what this is, when you run this, if I print out is greater than 20, it's going to return true. So let's do one here. Actually, I'll just that will return the value true. All right. Got ahead of myself there. I apologize. Should have just stuck with, if you do a Boolean, whatever you said, it will be true. But you can use Booleans later on in if else statements and in other scenarios as well. So let's compile this. Okay, and then let's run it. See, now we still have these. It's going to print out the mashed up one, the one with the space, John 20, and then here's the value of this. So basically, when you're doing variables, you do the data type, you do the type, the name, and then give it a value. You can also give it a type, a name, and that's it. And then you can try this. Let's try it out here. You can do a equals 30. Let's see what this does. Whoops, oops, okay. I'm gonna comment all this out so we clean up all this. Actually, just get rid of it for now. Go back here, clear the screen, compile it, and run it. See, I assigned it when I printed it out. And then I could do the same thing, give it different values each time. Let's do there we go. As you can see, the different values here. Okay, that is about all I'm covering today. I think later on we'll get a little bit deeper into it, especially like with the Booleans and stuff where you're checking Booleans. But variables are pretty simple. As long as you know the data types and know the syntax, you give it the type, then give it a name, and then assign it a value. Or you can just give it the type and the name and assign the value later, depending on the situation, whatever, however it calls. All right, that is all I have for today. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video, hit the like and subscribe just to get the algorithm going, help the channel out. I'm just starting this, so I don't even know if this is going to take off or not. I mean, I'm just playing around really, but I like doing it, so I will keep doing it. All right, you guys have a great day, and I will see you guys on the next video.